Viewers, hundreds of villagers, a majority of them Hindus, living in 6 Hindu-dominated villages in Tamil Nadu's Trichy area, are in a state of shock. They were rudely informed that the lands they owned for decades altogether had been claimed by the WAQF board. In fact, even the priests of an ages-old temple dating allegedly back to the Chola period were in for a rude shock. They were told that the temple too was standing on WAQF land. When we first heard this news, we were also here at times now a bit surprised. After all, how could the WAQF board lay claim to whole villages and a medieval temple? So viewers, Times Now's special investigation team traveled to Tamil Nadu's Tiruchendurai. Hapless villagers there narrated firsthand their ordeal. Listen to this, viewers. You'll be quite surprised.
சார் எங்களுக்கு தெரிய வந்து இப்போ கிட்டத்தட்ட ஒரு 10 நாள் ஆகுது. இந்த 10 நாளில் ரெஜிஸ்டர் ஆஃபீஸ்க்கு ஒருத்தர் லேண்ட் ரெஜிஸ்டர் பண்ண போகிறப்ப தான் விற்க போகிறப்ப தான் இந்த விஷயமே எல்லாமே ஹோல் திருச்செந்துறையே இந்த வக்பு வாரியத்து கீழே வந்திருக்கு அப்படின்றத ஒரு விஷயத்த எங்களுக்கு சொன்னாங்க. அதுக்கப்புறம் தான் நாங்கள் இதை பற்றி அதுக்கடுத்து ஆராய ஆரம்பிக்கும் போது தான் அடுத்து பக்கத்தில் உள்ள கடியாகுறிச்சி மேக்குடி பஞ்சாயத்து கடியாகுறிச்சி கிராமம் இதெல்லாம் வந்து ஃபுல்லாகவே வக்பு வாரிய கமிட்டிக்கு கீழே இருக்குது, அவங்களோட சொத்து அப்படின்ற மாதிரி சொல்லியிருந்தாங்க. நாங்கள் மேற்கொண்டு அந்த ரெஜிஸ்ட்ரார்கிட்ட என்ன விஷயம், ஏன் இது மாதிரி இதுக்கான காரணம், திடீர்னு இது வந்து கிட்டத்தட்ட 2800 வருஷத்துக்கு மேலே மன்னர்களாட்சி காலத்தில் இருந்து இங்கே இந்துக்கள் இப்படி தான் நாங்கள் இருந்துட்டு இருக்கோம்.
ஆமாம், ரொம்ப மனசு கஷ்டமாயிருச்சு. ஏன்னா நாங்கள் டாக்குமெண்ட் எல்லாமே இருக்குதுங்க சார், எங்ககிட்ட நிறைய இருக்கு. எங்கள் மாமியார் பேரில் இருந்து மாமனார் பேர், மாமியார் பேர், எங்கள் வீட்டுக்காருக்கு பேர், அதுக்கப்புறம் என் பேரில் இருக்குங்க சார். என் பேருக்கு இப்போ இவ்வளோ தூரம் எப்படி வந்ததுன்னு எனக்கே தெரியல. இப்போ இவ்வளோ தூரம் இருந்திருந்தா எங்கள் பேர்லலாம் வராது இல்லைங்களா, எங்கள் பேருக்கெல்லாம் வந்துருச்சு. அப்படி இருந்து எப்படி சார் அது அவங்களுக்கு சொந்தமாக ஆகும் அப்படிங்கிறது தான் இப்போ மன குலைச்சல் ஆயிடுச்சுங்க எங்களுக்கு.
Now viewers, you can clearly hear Jyotilakshmi, Shanmugam and Periyaswamy, all of them in deep shock. Periyaswamy says he's mentally depressed. The villagers here toil very hard and most are daily wages, he told us. And this is like encroachment. One fine day, your property is gone from under your feet, viewers. Shanmugam, villager, said he finds it particularly galling. Majority in the village are Hindus, and when WAQF said that it is their property, they were in a shock, in a complete state of shock. We came to know about it recently, he said. We haven't got any official information on this. In fact, viewers, they only came to know about this when one among them decided to sell his land. And the collector turned around at the registry and he said, look, this land doesn't belong to you. You can't sell it. Go get an NOC, a no objection certificate from the WAQF board. As you heard, viewers, Jyotilakshmi saying that the land that she held was in my mother-in-law's name. It was transferred to my husband's name and is currently in my name. It was their WAQF property, then we couldn't have got it registered. So viewers, something is amiss. Our team, Times Now's team, your team, even traveled to the site of the mandir. Here now the pujaris of the mandir confirm to us its historical heritage. This mandir, viewers, has been around for decades, if not centuries. Our team first spoke to the pujaris and then verified these claims independently, because viewers, on this temple walls is a script that is written in Old Tamil, not spoken anymore. Listen to these reports.
இதுவுமே இந்த ஊர் மக்களுக்கு தெரியவே தெரியாது. ஒரு 10 தினங்களாக தான் வக்ஃப் போர்டை பற்றி வெளியில் இந்த ஊருக்காரர் ஒருத்தர் ரெஜிஸ்டர் ஆஃபீஸுக்கு ரெஜிஸ்டர் பண்ண போகும்போது ரெஜிஸ்டர் பண்ண முடியாது, வக்ஃப் போர்டு வந்து ஸ்டே வாங்கியிருக்காங்க. அவங்க 1962 நாங்கள் இந்த கிராமத்தை நாங்கள் ரிஜிஸ்டர் செய்து விட்டோம், எங்களுக்கு வக்ஃப் போர்டுக்கு என்று ரிஜிஸ்டர் செய்து விட்டோம் என்று சொல்கிறார்கள். அதற்கு பிறகு 75 அதை 1975 ரெனிவல் செய்துள்ளோம் என்று சொல்கிறார்கள். இது எல்லாமே பஞ்சாயத்து பிரசிடென்ட்டும் எக்ஸ் பிரசிடென்ட்டும் நேரடியாக ரிஜிஸ்டர் ஆஃபீஸில் போய் அவங்க வந்து அது ஆதாரத்தை கேட்கும்போது இந்த மாதிரி அவங்க வக்ஃப் போர்டு கொடுத்துருக்காங்க, அதனால நாங்கள் ரிஜிஸ்டர் பண்ணலை, எங்களுக்கு வந்து ஜிஓலாம் கிடையாது என்று ரிஜிஸ்டர் ஆஃபீஸில் சொன்னதாக எங்களுக்கு தெரியப்படுத்தினார்கள். ஆனால் வக்ஃப் போர்டை விட்டு இந்த கிராமம் திருச்செந்துறையும் கடியாக்குறிச்சி கிராமத்தும் வக்ஃப் போர்டில் இருக்கிறது என்பதுதான் அவர்கள் இன்னும் சொல்லிக் கொண்டிருக்கிறார்கள். ஆகையினால் எங்கள் ஊர் மக்களுக்கு இந்த கிராமத்தையும் இந்த சிவன் கோயிலையும் வக்ஃப் போர்டில் இருந்து மீட்டு இந்துக்களாகிய எங்களுக்கு இதை சாதகமாக்கி தருமாறு நாங்கள் ஊர் மக்கள் சார்பில் கேட்டுக்கொள்கிறோம்.
We are in Tiruchendurai village, which is nearly 11 kilometers from Tiruchirappalli town on the way to Karur on the banks of river Kaveri. Now this is pretty calm village. However, recently it has hit headlines because the whole village is claimed to be under the WAQF board. Now this is a pretty old temple. This is Chandrasekhara Swami temple in Tiruchendurai village, and this is a very old temple built by Parantaka Chola during Chola period. So very old temple, nearly 1300 years old. Now here are the inscriptions on the wall of this temple about the whole temple, the history, who was the king on that time, how was it built, from where the rocks were brought, who rebuilt this temple, and all those details are given on this inscription. It's a very ancient writing, Tamil writing. This inscription is not found today. It's a modernized version of Tamil is what we write. However, this is the old Tamil inscription, which is read by only archaeologists and experts. So we can see a brief history, an ancient history could be seen on the walls of this temple, and it pretty much shows that these temples are not built in the recent times. They are very, very ancient temples, and the people over here claim this cannot be a Waqf board property.
That, viewers, was Bureau Chief Prapanch reporting from the site of this temple. But despite the apparent contradictions, the WAQF has put up posters across the villages claiming no land can be bought or sold without their written consent. Now, Times Now spoke to the WAQF chairperson of the area, who vociferously claims that the land is legally theirs, and this is what he told us.
In order to retrieve all those encroached and alienated land portions and properties, we have given a big list of these detail along with survey numbers and village name and all these kind of things to sub-registers offices of the respective area. One of them is this Tiruchendurai area, Tiruchendurai village. Since it is having more than 300 acres, different people will have their own occupied portions in different segments. But this is more than 300 acres. We are not readily having those detailed information. This is available in archive area. So we have requested archive department to furnish all the detail.
Viewers, the WAQF is only exercising sweeping powers that have accrued to it under the WAQF Act. Indeed, while the 1991 Places of Worship Act prevents Hindus from reclaiming temples on WAQF land or those torn down and then built over by mosques, in 1995, in sharp contrast, the WAQF Act was amended to allow the WAQF boards to lay claim under Section 40, Clause 3 to any trust, mutt, akhada, and society if it has reasons to believe they are WAQF properties. And viewers, what's more, the entire onus of proving that this is your property before WAQF tribunals, not even a court of law, is upon those whose land has been acquired, taken, claimed. Viewers, these sweeping powers are not in conformity with principles of natural justice. This is because there are no similar laws for followers of Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, Judaism, or Christianity, or no other faith. Interestingly, there are a whole raft of more sweeping powers that WAQF boards enjoy. Now, here are some hard facts, viewers, which I'm going to bring to you. And you might be a bit surprised, because remember, no other denomination enjoys these powers. What does Section 40, Clause 3 of the WAQF Act of 1995 1995 says. It says if board has any reason to believe that any registered property of trust society is WAQFs, then it can initiate an inquiry. WAQF can then call for registration of such property under the WAQF Act, or WAQF board can call for show cause why such property should not be so registered. Yes, viewers, no one, no other denomination has this power. Section 54 of the WAQF Act of 1995. What does that tell you? In case of encroachment, WAQF's CEO will serve show cause notice and conduct an inquiry. If WAQF's CEO is satisfied that property is WAQF's, he may ask tribunal to order eviction. If they refuse to evict within 45 days, board can take possession of the property. Viewers, no other denomination has the right to clear encroachments. Only the WAQF in this country enjoys this right. Section 101 of the WAQF Act 1995. Survey commissioner, member and officers of WAQF board are deemed to be public servants. This is like, viewers, a parallel state. No priest, as I was told today by Vishnu Shankar Jain, no priest, no other Purohit, etc., enjoys the same status of a deemed public servant under the law. Section 107 of the WAQF Act 1995, nothing contained in the Limitation Act 1963 shall apply to any suit for possession of immovable property of WAQF. So they have limitless claim, no time period. They can suddenly turn around and say something that is 400, 500 years old. Well, this is our land. Thank you very much. We are going to notify. We've conducted a survey. If you have a problem, move the tribunal, not even the civil courts, viewers. Section 4, 5, and 6, WAQF Act 1995, state may appoint survey commissioner and additional assistant commissioners for survey of WAQF land. And guess what, viewers? The state will pay for the survey. Now, this is in sharp contrast. If a temple, for example, management wants to know about the status of their lands, they will have to conduct the survey. They will have to pay for their survey. Here, you and I pay for the WAQF survey. Viewers, if this is not an example of special privileges, of unlimited, unbridled powers, reserved only for one side, then I don't know what else is. I want to open this up. We will be joined in a short while by Dr. Subramaniam Swamy. I will bring him into this in just a little while, but I want to first understand what is going on here. Dr. Anand Ranganathan is with us, Vishnu Jain, who is also involved with the Gyanvapi case and has extracted a favorable ruling from the district courts, is also here with us. He has also been puzzled by this, how should one put it, preferential treatment, special status to one side. Now, Dr. Ranganathan, first of all, what do you make of this before I bring in Vishnu Jain to give us an overview of the law?
Good evening, Rahul. Thank you, and welcome to all my fellow co-panelists. Let me be very clear. The WAQF Act is one of 8 reasons why Hindus are, forget about second class, 8th class citizens in their own country. Other 7 reasons briefly are, number 1, Kashmiri Hindus forced to be refugees in their own land. That one can settle 40,000 Rohingyas in Jammu and Kashmir, but not 7 lakh Kashmiri Hindus, the land's original inhabitants. Raped, murdered, pillaged, ethnically cleansed, and then 30 years later, the judiciary says it's too late to prosecute the perpetrators too. Hindu temples being exclusively controlled by the state. Hindus have to beg for WAQF land to celebrate Ganesh Chaturthi, their own festival, when the government has usurped hundreds of thousands of acres of temple land and is responsible for more than 100,000 temples losing lakhs of crores in rental income. 3, the Draconian RT Act that discriminates shockingly against only Hindus and their schools. 4, state-sponsored publications, naming of roads and cities, organizing of festivals that eulogize monsters like Aurangzeb and Tipu, who perpetrated large-scale Hindu genocide. 5, the drafted communal violence bill, where only the majority, i.e. Hindus, would have been held guilty in a communal riots, even if they were in a minority, for example, in Kashmir. 6, court judgments like the flawed Sabrimala and legislative enactments like the Hindu Code Bill that exclusively purport to reform only Hindu religious practices but dare not touch practice of other religions, and if they do, their decisions are promptly reversed, like in Shah Bano 7. The barbaric 1991 Place of Worship Act that denies the Hindus their legitimate to correct historical injustices and reclaim thousands of demolished temples. Let me now briefly address the eighth reason, Rahul, the Draconian WAQF Act 1995. Rahul, WAQF is the third largest landowner in India. Some say it is the second largest after only the railways. The land holding is also shockingly pre-independence. 77% of Delhi is on WAQF land, including the Delhi High Court. Please check. Maybe your Times Now studio also might be on WAQF land. WAQF essentially means that any donated property belongs to Allah in perpetuity. Hum sare Allah ki deen hai. Basically, WAQF Act decides any property adjudged by Muslim law as pious, religious or charitable becomes WAQF. The boards are headed and constituted exclusively by Muslims. Hindus can't get in to decide. Section 28 gives it power to order even a collector. Article 40 gives it power to decide if your land is WAQF or not. Section 54 gives it power to declare you as an encroacher. WAQF tribunal decision can only be overturned by a long and financially draining legal process. Thanks also lately to Supreme Court. Varna wo bhi avenue available nahi tha. Rahul, just 30 seconds. What on earth is going on here? Muslims claimed in the court that Gyanvyapi, built atop a Hindu temple, is on WAQF land. So was the Grand Kashi Vishwanath, demolished by Aurangzeb, also on WAQF land? Are Ganga Jamna Tehzeeb bol ke Ganga bhi le li aur Yamuna bhi? I ask you, how can a 1500-year-old temple, Hindu temple, be adjudged by WAQF to be on Islamic land when Islam is only 1300 years old? Tell me how.
That is precisely what puzzled us so much, and therefore we had Prapanch, our bureau chief, go there and verify it. We thought maybe the villagers were misleading, they were not quite right about the historicity of this temple. But he checked it out for himself, and you saw that report, viewers. Yeah. This is rather bizarre. Now we have with us Vishnu Jain, and we also have with us Abdul Rahman, chairman of the Tamil Nadu WAQF board. Now, Mr. Rahman, I'm a little surprised by this, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but the WAQF enjoys certain powers that no other faith management committees of temples, etc. enjoys. One. Two, how does a purportedly 1500-year-old temple now stand on WAQF land? How does this happen, Rahman Saab?
Thank you very much for having given me the opportunity to enlighten certain information. For a long time, after the enactment of WAQF Act in 1954, some of the portions of the WAQF land has been encroached and alienated by some people. In order to retrieve it, we have initiated the first step by giving the list of all the information to respective the sub-register office to stop transaction like a sale or purchase or exchange. So when we sent the list, some of the properties have been mentioned after village name. So one of the village names is this Trichandurai from Tamil Nadu, Tiruchirappalli district. Okay, this particular Trichandurai village is having 389 acres. Since it is a wider area, in 1954, the survey department of Tamil Nadu government has taken a prop survey, and accordingly they have registered the particular area surface as 389 acres and the village name. Nowadays, the village might have been increased with the surface of another 200 acres or 300 acres by adding all the sites. Now, the name Trichandurai village may be having more than 389 acres, like 500 or 600 acres. Because of the mentioned name as a Trichandurai village with 389 acres, we simply, that list is saying in such a way, after we, only to stop the transactions, after that the scrutiny and inquiry can be carried on. So in the first phase, when we are coming to know that there is a confusion among the people, we have instructed the sub-register office to withhold temporarily till we get a full information from archive department, which may take some time. So once it comes, we will give and we will furnish all the required detail to sub-register office to stop the transactions. We are not having any kind of compromise to withdraw the thing, because government of Tamil Nadu has put with the survey activity of the authenticated surveyors these 389 acres. Fine. More number of people may be having the usage of this area,
second, sir.
and we don't know what are the numbers.
Some of these houses.
Right, one minute.
One second, sir. Please, let me ask you a pointed question.
I heard, while there is a temple in such a place, how can we call it belonging to WAQF institution? For your kind information, I'm saying all the properties donated by the philanthropist.
Yes. Yes. Have I lost you, Mr. Rahman? Okay, we've just lost that connection. Now, this is bizarre, Dr. Ranganathan. We've heard a very long explanation.
Yes.
But the central question, and I'll tell you something else, Dr. Ranganathan. Some of the houses have been built there under the PM Awas Yojana. Now, do you know, money doesn't automatically pop into anyone's account when they say, oh, can we undertake subsidies under the Awas Yojana? There is a very detailed study that is conducted on the papers, the title deeds, to establish who owns the land. Money would not have been released. So I can't understand, Dr. Ranganathan.
No, this is absolutely crazy, and it's so bizarre. The problem, I'll tell you what, Rahul, is that governments are so scared to touch this, that they go overboard in placating and appeasing. Now, I'll give you two examples. Is it not a fact, and my good friend Vishnuji will, maybe corroborate me, that when Pakistan was formed and those Muslims who went to Pakistan, their land was given to WAQF, not to the government of India. And as a result, we have huge swathes of land that are now WAQF property. For example, Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium is WAQF property.
When Hindus came from the other side, these were called evacuee properties. When they came from the other side and were settled in these evacuee properties...
Can I come in or not?
Madam, 1 second, just 30 seconds. Let me just establish this. I'll come right out to you, Umanandanji. I'll come out to you. Don't just give me 10 seconds, please.
I had a doubt whether I'm there or not.
You are very much there. Like all of us, even Dr. Swami is waiting. So just give me 30 seconds. Let's just get the story to the viewer. Let him understand. It's a very important issue, viewers. Very, very important issue. Now, what happens is that these evacuee properties were handed to Hindus. Now, suddenly, viewers, after many years, the WAQF has come, knocked on their doors and said, pay us X amount of rent. And now the Hindus don't know what to do.
Yes.
So this is happening a lot in Punjab, Haryana. Bear me out, Vishnuji. What is the problem here? Abdul Rahman says all of this is our land, and you can't NOC, etc., etc.
See, I think, Rahul, thank you for having me on the show. I think we are not able to explain the point to Mr. Abdul Rahman ji. Mr. Abdul Rahman ji is arguing within the purview of the Act, while we are saying, how can you have such powers? The point is this, that how can Tamil Nadu WAQF Board have this power to declare an entire village, or forget entire village, a small piece of land also as WAQF property? Show me a single provision under the Indian Trust Act, under the Societies Act, where the Hindus, Jains, Christians, Parsis, Buddhists have this power to declare any property as WAQF property. And that too, Rahul, just understand the draconian nature of this provision, section 40 subclause 3, which you just quoted. The height of domination is so much that they don't have to even inform me that my property has been declared as WAQF property. They will inform the organization where which my property is registered. So, for example, if my property is registered under the Indian Trust Act, they will inform the registrar of the trust, and we know what happens in the registrar of the trust. So ultimately my property will be declared as WAQF property. I won't know, and if I don't file any appeal within 1 year, my property is gone. and that's how Mr. I was just hearing Mr. Tamil Nadu WAQF Board's chairperson who was making his submissions. He is arguing within the purview of the Act. We are saying, how can you have such power? That is point number one. Point number two, Rahul, see the other draconian nature of this WAQF Act. Entire Punjab and Haryana, and out of my professional experience, I am telling this on your channel, entire Punjab and Haryana is burning because the lands which belong to Hindus were custodian properties of the central government. In 1984, the Rajiv Gandhi government gave all those property to the WAQF board, and now the WAQF board was initially taking meager amount of rent. So the Hindus didn't mind it. Now they are asking for 25,000, 30,000 of rent, and now we have awakened. Now the point is, हम अब जागे हैं. जब हमसे इतना रेंट मांग रहे तब पता चला कि केंद्र सरकार ने सारी प्रॉपर्टी वक्फ बोर्ड को दे दी है. Now the problem is this: how can you have such power? And Rahul, let me ask you one question. क्या मेरे किसी पुजारी को, पुरोहित को, शंकराचार्य को पब्लिक सर्वेंट का दर्जा है क्या? If I slap a person of a mutwalli or anyone under section 101, it's an offense under section 21 of the IPC. So this is shocking. Under section 107, the WAQF board has the power to declare there is no limitation for WAQF board. You can come to the court at any point of time. And for Hindu deities, there are limitations under law. Section 89, you have to give notice to them if you have to file a case against them, just like a parallel government.
Well,
all these provisions
are very important questions.
Clear violation of Article 14 and Article 21 and Article 300A of the Constitution.
Well, let me tell you, viewers, in just a few days, the Supreme Court is going to be hearing a petition that has been filed by Ashwini Upadhyay. That matter, challenging these sweeping powers, is going to be heard by the Supreme Court. Uma Anandan, do you today support what Abdul Rahman, even if he is speaking, by invoking the provisions of the law? Are you satisfied by his response? If not, why?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. I would like to ask one particular question. First is, as you all told, abolish the WAQF Act of 1995. It is draconian in nature. First, I would like to ask Mr. Rahman, that temple was built by Parandaga Chola. First, it was only stone, and there is an inscription there which says, Rajaraja Chola's sister, Kundavai Piratiyar, the inscription says she has given about 400 acres of land. And always remember, I would like to ask Mr. Rahman whether the Vijayalaya Cholas sold the temple and its properties to the WAQF board. I want to ask him that. And they have started this everywhere now. In Avinashi, Coimbatore, they have started. Then they have started in Viluppuram district also this. This is, I think there is an ulterior motive in this. The powers to be which are ruling Tamil Nadu today are using the WAQF board now to get their hands on the prime properties, threaten the people that it belongs to WAQF, so that they sell it at a cheaper rate and go away. So there is I suspect a sinister motive behind this. Sudden onslaught of the WAQF board. I would like to ask Mr. Rahman this. There is not much of a Muslim population in that area, even if you come by that. Definitely you will all agree. The Vijayalaya Cholas, the Pandyas and the Cheras, and the Pandyas, the two people, they would not have sold their land on which they built temples to the WAQF board. I suppose you will all agree with that. There cannot be any second two thoughts on that.
Respond,
so
Mr. Rahman.
Definitely, this 1995 Act of the WAQF
Respond to Uma Anandan.
should be totally abolished, and they have not given to the registrar the survey numbers.
Okay.
They have given only a sweeping statement. They have only given. So tomorrow I go and say that this land belongs to Kapalishwara, Lord Kapalishwara. Do I get the same benefit that he is getting today? The deity, and mind you, the Hindu deity is a perpetual minor, and his property cannot be alienated. Those laws are not taken into account, while the WAQF board laws are taken into account.
Okay, let me bring in
injustice to the Hindus?
Mr. Rahman, quick response to Uma Anandan before I bring in the two other lawyers.
One thing you please.
Let him respond. Umaji, let him respond.
Due to network problem, I couldn't hear properly. Even then, I am supposed to give one particular detail. Because of a land belonging to WAQF institution, it doesn't mean that Hindus should not live or Hindus should not get benefit out of it. We welcome it. We appreciate it.
This is
If
shocking.
there is
I'm
any
sorry.
kind of issue, we should not
No,
color
this
it with any religion or
this is
community
not
or caste or
insulting
race.
the meaning.
We came across a certain document having a very broader area belonging to WAQF institution is having a temple because the donor has allocated the space
I'm sorry.
for the
I'm sorry for
establishment of the
intervening.
Let him
temple
finish.
and
Let him
its
finish.
ponds.
Let him finish.
It is a generous attitude.
No, don't try to be. Don't
So you're
try to
saying
have
that
the
someone
Soviet
donated
and
the
our
temple?
attitude. Get rid of the Soviet and our attitude.
See, according to the document preserved by the
Let me bring
government.
in. 1 second. Let me bring in. Let me bring in. 1 second. Let me bring in Dr. Ranganathan. He has a point to make. Yes, Mr. Ranganathan.
See, only one
Mr.
point
Yes,
I
no,
want to
no,
clarify.
Mr. Rahman.
You don't have to fear. We might
See,
own the land, but you don't have to fear.
Out of the
Mr.
out of
Rahman.
the big surface of the land donated for WAQF institution.
No, please, Mr.
has
Rahman,
been
please allow
mentioned
me.
that a particular portion
Please
has
allow
been
me to
donated for the
1500 temple, yes.
establishment of a temple.
You've been
Listen to
very
the
We
response.
appreciate. for
Mr.
this
Rahman,
generous
listen to the
attitude.
response.
Rahul,
Dr. Ranganathan wants to
grant it.
respond. Uma Anandan wants to respond in that order. Dr. Ranganathan, yes.
No, I first of all, I'm thankful that Mr. Rahman is very cogent and he brought out all his points very articulately. But I must disagree vehemently. He is being so patronizing. He's saying land hamara hai, lekin Hindus are most welcome to use it. Tomorrow he will say Hindus can't use it because that is exactly what has happened on
Yeah,
Gyan Vyapi.
as if it's a-
Gyan Vyapi, no, madam, please don't interrupt. Uma ji, please, I beg you, because it's a very important point I'm making. Thank you. This is exactly what has happened in Gyan Vyapi. Muslims in court, and Vishnu ji will bear me out. Muslims in court are saying that Gyan Vyapi is on Waqf board land. Please, Mr. Rahman, tell me, wasn't Gyan Vyapi built on Hindu land by demolishing a Hindu temple? So isn't Gyan Vyapi on Hindu land? Say yes or no. If you have the guts, sir.
Tawseef Saab, would you like to respond? You're making some
See.
comments against Dr.
See,
Ranganathan. Why don't you articulate them? Tawseef Saab, go ahead. You're a lawyer.
Yes.
Do you believe that the law should be
Yes.
so lopsided
I said
that the spirit of Article 14 and 21 is violated? Do you agree
No.
that only special powers should be vested with Waqfs? You're a lawyer, sir. You please tell me. Speak about the law.
There is no need. No, you see, no need to invoke Article 14 and other articles of Constitution. The ownership concept in law is very clear. If Mr. Dr. Ranganathan owns a piece of land, he would want that after his death it should go to his children, and then after the death of their children it should go to their children. That is the perpetuity. That is the legal nature of the ownership. Now the ownership of Waqf land, all the Waqf land, the ownership vests with the Waqf board. The management vests with the Waqf board and the ownership vests with Allah. It's just like a trust. If Mr.
Tawseef Saab,
Anand
you're not answering the
Ranganathan
question I've asked you.
has a lot
Should
of
there
land,
be?
and
Should
he
there
would
be?
want
Yes,
to,
Vishnu Jain.
make-
Vishnu Jain wants to make an intervention.
I am just asking Tawseef
Now-
Bhai,
now
please
Mr.
tell me a particular
Mr.
section, and I will not even
Mr.
utter a
Anand
single word
Ranganathan.
after that. Please show me a section in the Indian Trust Act or the Societies Act where a similar provision like section 40 subclause 3 is there. Now today we are debating how can Waqf board have such a power? No one is answering this question. My point is this, and this I am shouting, and we are running a campaign with Mr. Puspen Kushist from 2013, that how can Waqf board enjoy
do not
such
shout.
kind of draconian
Do not
power?
waste our energy.
This is the point. And Rahul, let me
Mr.
tell you,
Ahmed,
I'll give you one
respond to that. Let him
example.
first respond to that.
I'll give you one example.
Now you're done.
Chandrasekhar
Now
Azad
you're
Park
done.
in
Now
Allahabad,
you're done.
where
Now
Shaheed
you're done. Let me
Chandrasekhar
answer
Azad
it.
gave
Let
his
me address
shahadat.
that. Let
That
me
has been
address
declared
that
as Waqf
concern.
property. Bet Dwarka has
Let
been
me
declared as
address
Waqf
that
property.
concern.
Mathura has been declared as Waqf
Okay,
property.
listen to him. Listen to him. Mr. Ahmed wants to respond to you. Yes, Tawseef Saab.
This gentleman.
Yes.
No,
Don't make a personal. He never attacked you personally, so don't make any personal comment.
With section 40.
Yeah.
He said, he is making the point. He is making the point
Yes.
that he is not happy with section 40 of WAQF Act. Right. That is his case. Then the proper forum to raise this case is the court. The court will decide that.
Mr.
There cannot be a
Ahmed,
media
the
trial over
question
it.
is, the question
I may
is,
have a lot of problem with a lot of provisions of the
Mr.
law.
Ahmed, 1 second.
Lot
do
of
you
the
believe?
provisions of the law is there. It has to be interpreted by the court.
Okay, but Mr. Ahmed,
it has to be interpreted by the court.
Ahmed,
Now, anyone sitting in Times Now debate is not a judge and is neither a court.
Mr. Ahmed, do you support
So
this
why
inequity
use
in
this
law?
excuse
Do you
to
believe
spread
that one
enmity?
side should get
Why
preferential
use
treatment under
this
the law in a
excuse
secular nation?
to
This is
do
a very simple
hatred
question to
filled
you. You're a man.
politics?
You're a student of
This
the law.
should not be allowed.
No, you're a student of the law. I'm only asking you in your own judgment. Forget about the others. In your own judgment, do you believe that one side should be getting preferential treatment under the law, treatment that no one else can avail of? Simple question. Do you think it should be done away with in a secular nation?
No, that reminds me, Rahul, it's good that you talked about preferential treatment, because I am quoting you verbatim. Okay. You said, viewers, you and I pay for WAQF surveys. Now, that's the biggest lie that you can as an anchor say in this channel. WAQF board has its own income from the properties, from the rental income, and it meets its expenses through those income. Even as Mr. Ranganathan said, Delhi High Court is on WAQF land. The famous Saket Mall is also on the WAQF land. The Kolkata Governor was also WAQF land. Kolkata Quest Mall is also WAQF land. These are WAQF land. And there are ways to take lease. These land are taken on lease. These land are taken on license. These land can be used and utilized subject to payment.
This is a sworn statement before the Supreme Court
from the WAQF board.
WAQF
That is
board,
the
which
scheme
has
of the law.
Muslim MLA,
If you have a problem with the scheme of the law,
Muslim
go
town
and challenge it in the
planner,
court.
Muslim advocate, Muslim
Why
scholar,
you use this as an
Mutawallis are
excuse
paid from
to
the
spread
public
hatred
exchequer.
and
Though
serve your own
center and
political
state
purpose?
doesn't collect 1 rupee from any mosque, mazar and dargah. On the other hand, center and state collect around 1 lakh crore rupees from 4 lakh temples, but there are no similar provisions for Hindus. Thus, the Act offends Article 27 also.
Now you are misleading your viewers.
I'm not misleading anybody. Let's quote to you. Section 2, 3 and 4. Yes, Dr. Ranganathan wants to come in. Yes, okay.
Yes.
And on the point of law. Yes, on the point of law first. Vishnu Jain, Ehtesham Hashmi is also listening. Yes.
I'm saying something else to Tosi Bhai. Tosi Bhai just said that you have blatantly said something which is against the record. Tosi Bhai, please see section 4, 5 and 6. The expense of this survey has to be borne by the state government, and this survey happens every 10 years. Every 10 years after every 10 years, this survey happens. And the expense of this survey has to be borne by the state exchequer.
A panelist who is a student of the law doesn't want to answer the basic question that was asked, which is, should there be an iniquity such as this perpetuated under the Indian Constitution? He will not answer. Dr. Ranganathan, 1 second.
I just want to read. He said that you have said against the record. Yes. Section 8, sir. Tosi Bhai, you are a lawyer. State government to bear cost of survey. The total cost of making a survey, including the cost of publication of the list of WAQF under this chapter, shall be borne by the state government.
Don't pay attention to Mr. Ahmed. He routinely comes out and fudges on national TV, so it's okay. Dr. Ranganathan wants to come in.
Yes.
Section 8,
I hope I will not be interrupted. I did not interrupt.
Jokers are sitting on the channel.
Jokers. Who is contempt? The man gets personal when he loses an argument. It's okay, sir. It's okay. Let me be today charitable to you and say we excuse you for trying to mislead all of us. It's okay. We excuse you. We understand your compulsion. 1 minute. Now listen to Dr. Ranganathan. Yes.
Rahul Tausif Ahmed was saying, accusing you.
Compulsion from BJP.
I'm used to it, Dr. Ranganathan. Don't waste your breath on defending me. I'm used to it. I have my facts. I come very prepared for this show. I don't sit here and gas on a news channel. Okay, Dr. Ranganathan, make your point. I think you had a very important point to make. Yes. Don't get sidelined. Yes, important.
Yes, no, I never get sidelined from people who are on the sidelines. But the fact of the matter is, he's been brutally exposed. Now, will you please be quiet?
State government is
Rahul,
Mr.
you have
Ahmed,
to
no one
fade him out
interrupted
like
you.
this.
Now listen to Dr. Ranganathan. He has a point. Ehtesham Hashmi is also there waiting for us. We can't keep making him wait.
Repeatedly go on saying,
Mr. Ahmed, please.
Rahul,
you are talking false.
Rahul, you know, he will not let me speak. So,
Okay,
can
I'm
I
going to
please
lower his
request
fader.
you?
This will not go on.
Yes.
More than 3 seconds. 1,
Please
2,
answer.
3.
Who appoints the work board?
Down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Doctor. Yes.
Yes, thank you for fading Tausif out like his fledgling career. No, he has been exposed brutally. The state, as the WAQF Act itself says, has to pay for all the survey, as Vishnuji has said. Number 2, it is not about go to court. Of course, people will go to court. And let Vishnuji correct me if I'm mistaken. As late as 10 years ago, people who were at the rough end of the stick of WAQF could not actually approach the court. The tribunal decisions were final. It is only when Supreme Court said, no, we are the final and binding authority, that people could actually dispute the decisions of the tribunal. Itna draconian hai. And lastly, you know, they say law may be an ass. I don't know whether law is an ass or not, but evidently some lawyers are. It is not the question of going to court. It is something which is commonsensical. Please explain to me, how is Gyan Vyapi, which was built by demolishing a Hindu temple which was built on Hindu land, how is it on WAQF land?
They'll tell you
Please
it's a
ask them,
donation.
Rahul.
They'll tell you it's a donation. It's okay. Let's not rack our minds. Let the authorities now look into this. The authorities, by the way, will be the tribunal set up by the WAQF board. So I don't know how this works. It's really circular. 1 minute. Dr. Subramaniam Swamy now joins us. I'm coming to Uma Anandan. Give me 30 seconds, please. We've already lost Mr. Hashmi, not given a chance because we caught up. We were caught up by Mr. Ahmed, who was sidetracking the conversation. Okay, Dr. Swamy, thank you very much for speaking to me. I want to ask you, how do you view the sweeping manner in which the WAQF has claimed land in Trichy, engulfing several villages? Sir.
Well, if your people in power have come to elections by relying on their votes, you should expect that they would demand that. But there's a way of the central government putting a check on it, and that is to invoke Article 25, which allows the government for placing reasonable restrictions on the activities of religious bodies, including temples. So far, Indian government since 1947, and of course the British government before, had only put restrictions on temples. And they have not touched either a church or a WAQF board or a masjid, although masjid is not a religious place, it's actually a place to read namaz. But nevertheless, it's a part of the religious establishment of Islam. And I think the government should actually and can take over the non-religious activities of the WAQF. And this takeover of this land is in fact a non-religious activity.
Okay, well, look, there are of course many views. The matter is going to now be heard by the Supreme Court. Yes. 1 second, Vishnuji, 1 second. Let me just ask another question of Dr. Swamy. Dr. Swamy, the WAQF been empowered by laws that seem to have been passed, I don't know, to favor one community over the other. Do you agree with this? Do you think that there is something problematic here?
Of course, it has always been that. I'm not surprised that in Congress regimes this kind of thing would happen, because they were perhaps the most, from the day one, they were the most compliant party for the Muslim organizations. And these sections that you quote, this must be from the WAQF Act, I'm sure. Is that it, or you're quoting from something else?
WAQF Act.
What are you? Where are these sections from?
WAQF Act. Yes.
In any case, if it's an act,
yes,
under which they have invoked these powers, that means it can be overruled by a constitutional provision.
Yes.
And Article 25 and 26 would overrule it without any difficulty.
Absolutely. Dr. Swami, I think, has, as usual, hit the nail on the head, saying that the time has come, perhaps, for the centre to look at this. Amended in Parliament. Yes, Vishnu Jain?
I have one very small solution
Yes.
to this entire debate.
Yeah.
And if this goes well with the government, and I am assuring you, Rahul, that
Uma
if this
Anandan.
suggestion is accepted,
Uma
there will
Anandan.
be nothing, no one can oppose this suggestion.
No one can oppose.
The
Uma
suggestion
Anand-
is
yes.
this.
Uma
My-
Anandan, very quickly, BJP should take this up with the central leadership.
I have just a suggestion. I have
Yes.
one amendment
Yeah.
to this entire act,
Yes.
and this entire act
First,
will fail.
convey my
Ma'am, just a
birthday
minute.
greetings to Dr. Swami.
I am just solving this entire problem, Rahul, today.
Okay.
My solution is this, that
Kodi
the central...
namaskaram.
Ma'am, just...
Namaskaram. She's saying namaskaram. Okay,
Namaskaram.
yes. Yeah.
The central government must come with an amendment saying that the WAQF Act will not apply to non-Muslims.
Well,
End of the story.
viewers,
End of the story.
viewers, let's hope that the central government is also hearing this. And Times Now is going to continue this campaign. We are being inundated with complaints that have come in of encroachments by the WAQF board, not the other way around. And we will be playing them out now, sending our reporting teams. This is a Times Now special investigation, viewers. We're going to go length and breadth of this country, get out these cases, these unheard voices, and put them on Times Now. We'll move on.